What's up guys, it's Annie and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the 3 videos that I made about my experience flying from the United States to Taiwan during this whole COVID-19 pandemic. So in those videos, I talk a lot about the different types of forms that you need, as well as when you need to fill them out and who needs to fill out what. So in today's video, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about how to fill out the forms, as well as when you need to show them. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to go over the 3 most common types of travelers. We have the residents, whether you're a Taiwan resident or you hold an alien resident certificate. We have the foreign national, which holds a passport that's outside of the Taiwan passport, for example, from the United States. And then we have a foreign national that holds both the foreign passport as well as the Taiwan passport. But that Taiwan passport does not have household registration, so you're considered a national without household registration. If you do have a Taiwan passport, but you're not sure which one it is, just open it to the front page and see if there's a personal identification number on it. It would be under the passport number and above your date of birth. If there is an ID number, then you're a Taiwan resident. If there is no number there and it's blank, then you're a national without household registration. I know this is kind of confusing for the people who hold both passports, because usually we say use this passport here, use this passport there, use it when you're entering there, exiting there. But because of the pandemic guidelines and the new travel restrictions, you're actually going to need to provide both on both ends. For example, when you check in, you're going to need to show your Taiwan passport, otherwise they're going to ask you for a negative COVID test. Also, for the health declaration form, you're going to need to use your foreign passport to fill it out because you don't have a Taiwan ID number. But then you still need to supply your Taiwan passport to show that you don't need the COVID test. Alright, so 48 hours before your flight, you should receive an email from your airline for check-in, as well as the link to the health declaration form. If you do not get the link, then you can just go directly online to fill it out. Okay, so I'm going to look down at my phone as I fill out the form. So it says quarantine system for entry. You need to have a Taiwan phone number, and if you don't, you can buy a SIM card once you land. So for the guidelines of your home quarantine, you can be at home if you have your own bedroom and bathroom, and there's no one under the age of 6 or over the age of 65, or anyone that has any sort of chronic illnesses. Also, if you live on one of the offshore islands in Taiwan, you need to quarantine on the main island first before you can go home. And if you haven't booked a quarantine hotel yet, you can click the link there. Okay, so for nationality, if you are a Taiwan resident, just put Taiwan and fill it out with your Taiwan ID number. If you are a national without household registration, then you would fill this out with your foreign passport. For example, if you're coming from the United States and you have a US passport as well as a national without household registration passport, use your US passport to fill out this form and then put your Taiwan passport number on the form as well, so you don't need to provide a COVID test. So here we'll just go with United States. Here it says to please fill in all the countries you've been to. So if you've only been to the United States, you would just put United States. And again, since you do have a Taiwan passport, you don't need to have the COVID test. So here you can go ahead and mark no. All right, so now we have the passenger information. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just gonna put test, and I'll just say I'm male. Nationality will already be put in for you. And this is where you put in your foreign passport number. And then under it, that's where you're gonna put your Taiwan passport number, since you don't have an ID number. So since you don't have an ID number, just don't touch the next box. This is where you need to put your Taiwan number if you have one. If not, you could buy a SIM card when you land and then use that number that you just purchased here. If you do have an international roaming number, you can put that here as well. So for the country code, you just need the code. And make sure you add the plus. So for the United States, it's +1. And then for your mobile number, you just put whatever your phone number is. And then it'll ask you for the address of where you're gonna quarantine. So here you can either choose if you're gonna quarantine at home or at a hotel, and you just need to provide the address. You'll receive a link for the home quarantine notice via SMS on your phone when you arrive. So that will be the link that you get right when you land. So this is where your confirmation is. So make sure you screenshot this and show it to the check-in counter when you're checking in for your flight. And then it says save, press for 2 seconds. So you just hold it down for 2 seconds, save image, and then it will be in your camera roll. Just go directly to your camera roll and it will be right there. And that's it. If you do fill out the form online before you board, but you don't receive the text when you land, then you can go back to the website, and in the top left corner of the homepage, it will have a red box that says troubleshooting. You just click on that and it'll just ask you to enter your phone number that the text was supposed to go to. So everyone needs to fill out this form, whether you're a resident, a foreigner, or a national without household registration. If you do not have a phone, a Taiwan SIM card, or a international roaming plan, then you can just fill out a temporary paper form once you check in. So when you get to the airport and you check in for your flight, before you can get your boarding pass, there's a couple of different things that you need. For a Taiwan resident, you're good to go. For a foreigner, you do need to provide a negative COVID test, and that needs to be a hard copy, and the results have to be dated within 3 days of your flight. Keep in mind that the report date has to be within 3 days of your actual flight. So if you have an overnight flight and you're checking in on the night before, it has to be within 3 days of your actual flight date. Keep in mind, if you are entering on a foreign passport, you do need to have a visa at this time during the COVID pandemic. Right now, they are not allowing travelers to come in for travel, leisure, sightseeing, etc. You need to either come in for business, school, a medical reason, or to visit family. And for the nationals without household registration, you need to make sure you have your entry permit affixed inside your Taiwan passport. You should apply for this before you even book your ticket. So once you get to the check-in counter, that's your last chance to fill out the online health declaration form if you forgot to do it 48 hours in advance. There will be a QR code that will take you directly to the form. And once you're done filling it out, just show the person at the counter your confirmation page, and then they'll give you your boarding pass. If you do need to fill out the paper form because you don't have a phone or because you don't have a Taiwan SIM card yet and you plan on buying one once you land, or if you do have a phone but it's already in Taiwan, or you plan to borrow a friend or family member's phone that you don't have with you right now, just fill out the temporary paper form. And that's really easy. You just ask for your personal information, your flight route, as well as the address of where you're going to quarantine, whether that's at home or at a hotel. Also at check-in, your airline will probably have their own health declaration form. And this just has general information like your personal info, and you probably need to certify that you haven't come in contact with anyone who's tested positive for COVID-19 within the last 14 days. Or if you yourself have already recovered and now your tests come back negative. So once you land in Taiwan, if you did fill out the online health declaration form, you should be receiving a text that has a QR code that will link you to your confirmation and your declaration certificate. It'll either show up as one big green button or 3 buttons where the first one is green and the bottom 2 are blue. It doesn't matter, it's the same thing. It's just a document with 3 different pages. So the document is broken up into 3 buttons and one document is all combined together. To access these documents, you do need to enter the last 6 digits of your passport number, and to open the actual PDF file, you also need to enter the last 6 digits of your passport number. Once you open the document, you'll see the green box that says normal, and that means you're good to go. There'll be a barcode at the bottom, and that's the barcode that will be scanned for each step of the way. After you get the barcode, the next step is at immigration. If you're a Taiwan resident, then you don't need to worry about it. You can just go ahead and line up. If you are a foreigner or a national without household registration, you do need to have an arrival card that states where you're going to be residing while you're in Taiwan. So there's going to be 2 address lines. The first one is going to be where you're going to be quarantining, and the second one is going to be where you're going to go after you quarantine. Keep in mind that they often ask for a local phone number, so make sure to put down the number of either your hotel or a family member in case they need to contact you. So congratulations, you made it out of the terminal. So if you're going to be taking a taxi or the bus, there will be a form that you need to fill out your information. And this is just as easy as your name, your flight number, and the destination of where you're going to. Keep in mind that they will scan that barcode again, so just have that handy. After you arrive to wherever you're quarantining, you have to fill out a form that records your temperature and your symptoms every day. You can either find this form on the 3rd page of the PDF that you had to download with the last 6 digits of your passport number, or if you're staying at a hotel, they usually provide it for you upon arrival. Or if you're quarantining at home, the government will send you a care package with a thermometer and the form included as well. Keep in mind, I believe every district and every city is different, but I believe right now, because there are a lot of people quarantining, the government care packages are for Taiwanese residents only and not for foreigners. Every day during your quarantine, you're going to get a text from the government, and there are 3 options. Number 1, you feel normal. Number 2, you have certain symptoms of COVID, which are listed in the text. Or number 3, you have other symptoms. Then they'll take the proper measures to take care of you if you do have symptoms. Otherwise, if you're normal, they'll just text you every day. The government will also call you depending on where you're staying. Sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's twice a day, sometimes it's every other day. And sometimes if you're staying at a hotel, the hotel will be the one to call you. Also, you'll get a text to add the government on Line. Line is a messaging app that's very popular in Taiwan, and the government will use this app to communicate with everyone who's in quarantine. It is a bot, and every day it'll ask you if you've eaten yet, what your temperature is, how many days you have left of quarantine, and some tips and some fun little things along the way. So those are all the forms that you should encounter when traveling to Taiwan during the COVID pandemic. Let me know if I missed anything or if you have any questions in the comments down below. Make sure to like this video and share it with anyone that you know who's planning to come to Taiwan. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!